So I've just arrived to Budapest and I'm walking to my Airbnb. I'm exhausted though. Probably not gonna film much tonight. Just gonna get something to eat and chill. Alright, I've gotten to the Airbnb. I'm gonna show you briefly, there's not much to show. And then I'm gonna go look for some food because I need to eat. And try to get some sleep soon, or at least in a few hours. So here's the outside. Yup, and then we go in. Got the kitchen. Got a little bathroom right here. And then the living rooms, workspace, sleeping quarters. And that's about it. And there's me. I was thrilled to find out that on Hungarian TV, they have football going, which makes for a great night when I'm trying to chill and kind of ease down, wind down. I'm watching football with Hungarian commentary. It's about 8:30 in the morning in Budapest. I'm gonna go get some coffee and breakfast. I'm gonna try this place. I don't know how to say it. Gerloci, I think is how it's pronounced. Gerloci. I'm gonna go check it out. And then I gotta head to the train station in a couple hours and we're gonna ride out to Bratislava, Slovakia. So my Airbnb is right in the city center of Budapest, about 2 blocks from the Danube River and about a block or 2 from the Budapest City Hall. It's just a small 1-bedroom apartment on the 5th floor of this building. It's right in the city center with a lot to do and a lot to see within walking distance. This cafe was opened in 2004, but the building dates back to the 1890s, and according to Nick Robertson of WeLoveBudapest.com, it was opened to resemble an older style French bistro. Out front is the statue of Károly Lammermeyer, the first mayor of Unified Budapest. In addition to the lovely cafe, Gerloci has a beautiful boutique hotel, so if you visit Hungary, perhaps you'll consider staying here. So, right down that way is the Danube. So that's the Buda side. Budapest was actually once 3 different cities. Buda on the west side of the Danube River, Pest on the east side, and Óbuda just north of Buda on the west side of the Danube. And this was until the 3 unified to become one city, Budapest, in 1873. And this is coming from Budapest.net. An independent Hungarian state was formed after World War I due to the Austro-Hungarian monarchy renouncing its rights over Hungary. After the Treaty of Trianon was signed in 1920, Hungary lost control of about 2/3 of its territory. Of course, there was a whole lot that went down during World War II, but communism did not end in Hungary until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1989. To my left are some of the tramway tracks in Budapest. The first steam-propelled public railway began operations in 1891 and is said to be the birth of the Budapest Tramway. This is from bkv.hu. With a constantly changing political environment in the late 19-teens, there was a need for the 7 tramway companies to unify. Between the 2 world wars, a plethora of modernizations were made to the tramway and public transportation system in Budapest. Of course, between the Germans and the Russians, the transportation system of Budapest suffered during World War II, and 84% of the tramway overhead line network was destroyed. The 50s brought forth more progress and change regarding the tramway system, and many innovations took place. One major decision made in the 50s was to replace the tram cars' wooden frames with steel. However, during the revolution of 1956, 2/3 of the overhead lines were destroyed and many tram cars were damaged or destroyed. Later on, the merger of 4 companies established the current company, BKV, Budapest Transport Company. The shoes on the Danube Promenade, established in 2005, is a memorial for the Hungarian Jews who were shot on these very banks by members of the Arrow Cross Party in 1944 and 45. There are 66 pairs of 1940s men's, women's, and children's styled shoes made from iron. The Arrow Cross was an anti-Semitic party led by Ferenc Selassie, and they beat and killed Jewish people throughout Budapest. They would often force Jewish people to remove their shoes before shooting them into the Danube River, where they would either drown and sink or be carried away by the current. This is from Cheryl Silver Ocean and Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, and they stated that during the days of horror that winter, 1944 to 1945, the Danube was known as the Jewish Cemetery. That building to the left is the House of Parliament. I don't know if you can hear me, it's loud as fuck. The Hungarian Parliament building is the seat of the National Assembly of Hungary. It lies just north of the shoes on the Danube Promenade on the east side of the Danube River. And the University of Pennsylvania states it is the largest and tallest building in Budapest. Completed in 1904, it is a Gothic Revival style building with a dome that is more of a Renaissance Revivalist style. So you can see the Parliament building right down there. BudapestFlow.com has a great article regarding the hidden mini statues of Budapest, which includes a map of locations for many of these statues. These are all the creations of a Ukrainian-Hungarian sculptor, Kolotko. This particular one that you see is just across the street from Budapest Keleti train station, sort of in front of the Starbucks, and it is a tribute to Cope, a cartoon mascot of a popular Hungarian retail chain in the 80s that was seen as a sign of progress toward a more independent nation. So this is apparently one of the fanciest McDonald's. It like turns into a nightclub too. This McDonald's next to the Nugatti railway station was built in 1990. The building it sits within was designed by none other than the renowned Gustav Eiffel Company. From 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, it turns into a nightclub of sorts with a live DJ and stunning visuals displayed on the ceiling. Nugatti railway station was officially opened on October 28, 1877. However, it was not initially called Nugatti railway station, and it didn't receive that name until 1891 when the station became the property of the Hungarian State Railways. There were many updates, changes, and setbacks throughout the early 20th century, and the station received serious damages during World War II, but it would eventually bounce back and become a vital part of Budapest's transportation system. In 1975, the building needed to be either demolished or heavily reconstructed due to it being declared life-threatening. Alright, so we have made it to Bratislava. And I don't feel like trying to figure out public transport, so I'm just walking to my Airbnb. So while in Budapest, I thought it would be a great idea to take the train and check out Bratislava since I'm already relatively close. So I got an Airbnb in the center of Bratislava for a night. I was hoping to go to Vienna as well, but I didn't want to try to cram too much in a short time, so I just stuck with Bratislava and Budapest. The train ride was actually pretty cool, but we did have an issue at the border crossing that delayed the trip by about 2 hours. Apparently, when crossing the border from Hungary to Slovakia, or vice versa, they have to actually change conductors. The Slovakian conductor didn't show up, so we were stuck in Starovo, Slovakia for a while until the new one did show up. This is actually where I met the American guy who I ended up running into later.
Righto, so we've made it to my Airbnb in Bratislava. I'll give you a quick tour. It's pretty small, but it's cool. We got our entrance right here. Yeah. Come in. Got a little living situation, the sleeping quarters, little kitchenette, a TV. Then you go in here, and you got the bathroom. That's where I'll be for the night. And then tomorrow, I'm gonna head back to Budapest. Alright, so we're gonna try the Slavic pub right by the Airbnb. Not gonna lie, I was a little confused where the entrance was, but I found it.
The Slavic pub, as visitbratislava.com describes, is one of the oldest pubs in Bratislava's city center, offering traditional Slavic dishes, beer, and it uses products from its own ecological farm. On my left is the Jan Nepomucki statue, and to my right off the camera is the Michael Archangel statue, leading into Michael's Gate in Old Town Bratislava.
Alright, so that behind me is Michael's Gate, if you can see it. It's a very famous structure here.
Michael's Gate is a structure standing the test of time, and it's a notable landmark in the center of Bratislava. According to Museum Mesta Bratislavi, it is the sole surviving city gate that predates Bratislava's official city status that was granted in 1291, but visitbratislava.com states it was completed in the 14th century. Either way, it's a pretty cool piece of history that still stands in the city. I typically know better than to use Wikipedia as a source, but after looking at Wikipedia's sources for this information, it seemed legit. And again, I'm probably going to butcher the names, but the main square in Old Town Bratislava is called Havlani Namaste, or just the main square. And the first record of this name being used dates back to 1373 when it started as a market square. The square went through many name changes with the constant changing of power and control in that region, and at one point was even called Hitler Square, but was renamed in 1953 to April 4th Square after liberation by the Red Army. After the Gentle Revolution in late 1989, it was decided to restore the original historical name of Havlani Namaste. This is Shona Nachi, one of the famous statues around Bratislava that everyone takes pictures with.
My plans got thwarted a little bit, but it was worth it. It was fun. I was gonna just walk around the city here in Bratislava, but it's late, and after I got done with dinner and I started walking by Michael's Gate, I ran into this American guy who I was talking with on the train. And so me and him and his daughter were chatting, and then they invited me to go get a beer. So we went and checked out this really cool bar that was this like old cellar. It was awesome. But we spent like a good 2.5 hours there, and that was gonna be my walking around time. But we were having a good conversation, and they were chill people, so I got distracted. So I may go walk around a tad right now just to get sleepy, and then try to get up at a decent time, walk around in the morning, get some clips before going back to Budapest. So I'm not tired yet, but it's late. But I didn't get to explore, like I said. So, since I'm not tired, I'm gonna go walk around a little more. But I don't know if you can tell. It's a Monday night here, and it is pretty dead, which honestly I kind of like. A lot of the crowds and shit are annoying.
That's the Slavic National Theater there in front of me. Designed by Ferdinand Fellner and Hermann Helmer. It opened in 1886 and it's considered a neo-Renaissance style building.
Yo, this place is quiet. Like, even in Budapest, it was a lot. I mean, it might have been the fact that it was over the weekend, but it was a lot more lively. This seems very quiet, which is okay with me. It's just, it's different. All right. If you can see it in the camera, this angle is pretty wide, so it probably looks small, but right there is the UFO tower. Apparently it's got a restaurant at the top. You can take an elevator up, get the view of the whole city. Apparently it's pretty nice. Probably not gonna do it. Don't have time, but if I had time, it would definitely be something worthwhile. Alright, there's a little bit better view of the UFO tower. I'm sure the video doesn't do it justice, but that thing is quite literally towering over that bridge. And it looks really cool. And then over yonder, castle.
According to Atlas Obscura, Napoleon and his army went to Bratislava in 1805 with thousands of soldiers and hundreds of horses marching through the streets. One of the soldiers apparently fell in love with a girl in the city and decided to stay. He began making his own sparkling wine, named after himself. Kumil is a famous bronze statue here in Bratislava, and it is said that you should rub the top of his head for good luck, which of course I made sure to do. Installed in 1997, it fits in with the other somewhat humorous figures throughout Bratislava to create a sense of fun for the locals and visitors. There are many stories and interpretations of the man at work, or Kamil, but there is apparently no official backstory or specific reason other than the city's efforts to change the atmosphere of Bratislava's post-communist rule. And this is from Tom Hentes's travel blog. This is St. Martin's Cathedral, a three-nave Gothic cathedral in the center of Bratislava, and this is from visitbratislava.com. The cathedral was consecrated in 1452, and in fact 10 kings, 1 queen, and 7 royal wives from the Habsburg dynasty were crowned in this cathedral.
It's so cool.
And this guy, Jan Holi, lived from 1785 to 1849 and was a prominent poet, translator, and priest in what is now known as Western Slovakia.
I didn't plan on going this way, but I couldn't not go down this cool little cobblestone street.
To my right here is Provost Palace, which I'll be walking by again later, and according to Explore Carpathia, the first time Provost Palace was mentioned anywhere was in 1311, but it was demolished in 1632 and replaced with this current building. It received another renovation in 1776.
So if you can hear me, apparently these are the old medieval walls that used to be up around the city.
According to visitbratislava.com, there were 3 gates that led into the city in the 14th century, Michael's Gate being one of them, which I walked by earlier, the Vendrika Gate, and the Lawrence Gate. A 4th gate, Fisherman's Gate, was built in the 15th century on the south side leading to the Danube River. After an invasion by the Hussites, the gates were fortified by embankments.
Oh wow. Can you see the UFO tower right there? In that fog, it looks so cool.
Another fortification occurred in the 16th century due to fears of Turkish raids, but by 1775, Empress Maria Theresa had a large portion of the walls demolished or built up, the moats she had filled in, and suburbs were integrated into the city. Something that I found interesting is that the area of Bratislava has evidence of habitation since before the 8th century when it was inhabited by Slavs. This all comes from the Encyclopedia Britannica. It became a trade center and a free royal town in 1291. From 1526 to 1784, Bratislava served as the Hungarian capital, and the Hungarian parliament even continued to meet in Bratislava until 1848.
Dude, this is so cool. Whoa.
The castle, which I'll be going to soon, stands upon a plateau and was the residence of the Austrian royal family until a fire destroyed it in 1811. Now, I'm skipping a lot of history here, but after World War I, Bratislava became the capital of Slovakia and the first Czechoslovakian Republic, and remained as the capital when Slovakia became independent in 1993. According to Navicup.com, the Basorka statue was placed on the castle hill in the 80s and was sculpted by Tibor Bartfei. It's a tribute to the women who suffered cruel deaths after being accused of witchcraft, and the Book of Confessions of the Free Royal City of Bratislava records up to 400 such judgments. Oh my goodness. The castle grounds were originally built according to Empress Maria Theresa's architect, and the high wall that surrounds the restored garden sits upon the exact foundations of the original walls. Bratislavski Hrad sits upon the hill overlooking the Danube River and the old town of Bratislava. According to visitbratislava.com, it's been referenced as far back as 907 in the Annals of Salzburg regarding a battle that occurred between Bavarians and Hungarians. The first known inhabitants of the castle hill were the Celts and was populated as early as the late Stone Age. Fast forwarding some, in the 11th century, a stone palace and the church of Saint Sauveur was built on the castle hill. Sigismund of Luxembourg had a Gothic-style castle built there in the 15th century as an anti-Hussite fortress. This didn't last long though, because in the 16th century, King Ferdinand had the castle rebuilt in the Renaissance style, and in the 17th century it was rebuilt again in the Baroque style. According to Slavic castles and chateaux, in 1811 a fire broke out and the whole castle was essentially destroyed and in disrepair for over a century. In 1953, the castle went under a major reconstruction in the form of Teresian reconstruction at the end of the 18th century. Within the Bratislava Castle is the Slavic National Museum of History as well as the Treasury. I didn't have enough time to explore the museum, so it's definitely on my list the next time I can get to Bratislava. On my right here, or kind of in front of me, is the Provost Palace I mentioned earlier. According to an article by theworldinbetween.com, 11 monarchs and 8 consorts walked this very street, Kapitolska, to their coronation. This included the previously mentioned Maria Theresa. Of course, like many European cities, Bratislava fell victim to the horrendous acts of World War II, Kapitolska being one of the many streets that suffered when the Jewish quarter was demolished to put in a highway and it cut off the route to the castle, resulting in this street now becoming more isolated. The buildings here have slowly gone under restoration, receiving renovations when the funds are available, and it's clearly a quite charming street. In fact, I didn't even plan on going down this street, but when I walked by it, I knew that I had to at least check it out for a little bit. The memorial of Slavic national uprising went through a few iterations before becoming what it is now. Once the Square Republic during the First Czechoslovak Republic, Helsinki Square during the Fascist Slavic Republic, and then Stalin Square. In 1962, it was changed to the current Square of Slavic National Uprising, and this is from the Monuments of Remembrance. There was even a Stalin statue here from 1949 to 1962, but this sculpture of the partisan and 2 women you see was placed in the 70s. So I just had a very nice little breakfast and coffee cappuccino right over there. Yo, I made it back to Budapest. Had to go find some shaving cream, so I went to the little grocery store nearby. A lot of good stuff. But I had to get a snack, and this looked good, so we're about to try it. Popped open a little bit. Let's try it out. Just kind of tastes like Nutella between bread. It's not bad though. Righto. So it's time to go explore. I have to walk slow though, my calf's been tight. When you look on Google Maps, this church is called the Inner City Mother Church of Our Lady of the Assumption. It's also called the Inner City Parish Church, and it's considered the oldest building in Pest, according to Budapest.net. This bridge I'm walking over is the Erzsébet Bridge, taking its name from Empress Elizabeth of Bavaria. Just Budapest explains that she was beloved by the people of Hungary during her time as Empress in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but she was tragically assassinated in 1989. Like the other bridges in Budapest, Erzsébet was destroyed in World War II. However, the bridge's structure was beyond repair, unlike many of the other bridges in Budapest. The current bridge was built in the 60s with a more modern design to it. As you head down the Airshibet Bridge, you can see the Gellert Hill waterfall, with the statue of Saint Gerard Sagredo standing on the hill above the waterfall. This whole hill is named after the Venetian monk who was actually killed in this very spot in 1046. The hill is a major park area that sits just south of the Buda Castle on the west bank of the Danube River. Now I'm at the St. Gerard statue that stands over the waterfall we saw a bit ago. Born in 980 in Venice, St. Gerard was a Venetian Benedict monk who would become a martyr and one of the patron saints of Hungary. While traveling, he arrived in Hungary where he educated King Stephen I's only son, Prince Emmerich, or Emery. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. The king appointed Gerard as the first bishop of Marosvar, and Gerard founded a monastery, cathedral, and a school for priests. A lot of stairs. Yeah, I'm not sure if I need to go that way or that way to get where I want, but I think I'm just going to keep going this way. It looks more like the main path. Gerard wrote the oldest surviving work of Hungarian theological literature when he wrote the meditation of the Hymn of the Three Young Men. There was a lot of political turmoil when Prince Emmerich was killed in 1031, and the king's nephew was to become the new successor. Maybe a little hard to see, but Buda Castle right there. We're going to head over there shortly. However, when the king died in 1038, many parties fought for the crown. Peter, the nephew, took the throne with help from the Holy Roman Emperor Henry III. Gerard and the king's nephew were both killed during the pagan uprising of 1046. There isn't an exact account of Gerard's death, but one account claims his carriage was pushed down the side of the now Gellert Hill. His body was pierced by a lance and his head beaten on rocks. This little statue here is of the Prince of Buda and the Princess of Pest, symbolizing the unification of Buda and Pest. Got me a croissant from the Poultry Pet Shed. Got chili here.
We are at the Buda Castle. It's like right over there is where that fountain is that we walked up. And then I went this way, went up to the park, and then wrapped around basically.
This area is Farkert Bazaar, which was constructed from 1875 to 1883 in a neo-Renaissance style and designed by Miklos Yilbel. According to WeLoveBudapest.com, it originally hosted numerous boutiques. However, like many other structures around Budapest, it was severely damaged during World War II and then became the youth park. However, Farkert Bazaar was closed in 1984 and neglected before finally being renovated in 2014. Castle Hill, where Buda Castle stands, is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's a major part of Budapest's past and present, this coming from budacastle.hu. Buda Castle was originally built during the 13th century, but it's been altered somehow multiple times since. It's a cultural center where you can visit the top of the dome for great views over the city, walk through the Hungarian National Gallery, explore the Budapest History Museum and the National Library, or even catch the changing of the guard at Sándor Palace. Buda Castle was first built in the 13th century when the King of Hungary wanted a fortress built to defend the western borders against the Mongols, as budacastle.hu explains. In the 15th century, it became a royal residence and center of power during the reign of King Sigismund of Luxembourg. Receiving architectural alterations and additions in the 15th and 16th centuries, Buda Castle would be left in ruins after the Ottoman invasion of Hungary. The Ottomans then occupied the castle for 150 years. Another massive reconstruction occurred in the late 17th century after the liberation of the castle from Ottoman rule, the beginning of the Habsburg era. Maria Theresa would go on to make more changes to Buda Castle in the 18th century as she recognized the significance of the building. Although it did receive a lot of damage during World War II, as you can tell, it's been beautifully restored. According to Lonely Planet, the statue of Prince Eugene Savoy was designed by Josef Rona. Prince Eugene Savoy took out the last Turkish army in Hungary at the battle in 1697 in Serbia. The dome at the top of Buda Castle, which I'm entering right now, was added on in the 1900s during the restoration and rebuilding of the castle. Designed by Miklos Yilbel and Alajos Hausman, the new rebuilt castle was inaugurated by King Franz Josef in 1905, and this is coming from budacastlebudapest.com.
So we are actually in the dome right now of the Hungarian National Gallery. just looked at a bunch of artwork, but I didn't want to film all that. But yeah, this is really neat. In the dome, in the Buda Castle.
Matthias Fountain was designed in 1904 by Lajos Strobel and Lajos Houseman, and actually survived World War II with little damage. I'm going to read this insert from Budapest.com. According to the legend, King Matthias Hunyadi, the fairest king of Hungary, went hunting in disguise. He was often disguised to see the true affairs of the Hungarian kingdom. During the hunting, he met a pretty peasant girl called Beautiful Little Helen, but when she found out that he was the king of Hungary, she realized that their love could never come complete and consummated in a marriage, so she died from a broken heart.
I think like 3.
That building there is the Royal Riding Hall. First built during the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the equestrian venue designed by Lajos Houseman, much like many other buildings in the city and castle, was largely destroyed during World War II. It was then demolished in the 1950s and reconstructed. This is all from Budapest.com. In English, the center courtyard of Buda Castle is called Lion's Courtyard. It was also severely damaged during World War II, and it required much reconstruction and renovation, much like the rest of this area.
So this is the National Library right here. The History Museum's over here too. I think it's either this spot or right over there on the left of me. I'm not 100% sure, but it's one of these spots.
Commissioned by Count Vince Shandor in 1806, Shandor Palace was renovated in 2002 based on the original blueprints that were recovered in 1983 and detailed contemporary maps. According to the Shandor Palace website, shandorpalota.hu, it is said that the Shandor name became quite known when the Count's son, Moritz Shandor, became known as the Devil Rider in Budapest and the Equerry of the Devil in Vienna because of his acrobatic equestrian feats. According to Budapest.com, Shandor Palace was primarily used for government purposes and housed officials, including 19 different prime ministers throughout Hungary's history. Of course, World War II was not good for Shandor Palace, and it fell victim to a barrage of bombs, leaving it decimated and destroyed. The palace wouldn't receive any renovation or restoration until decades later. Since 2003, Shandor Palace has housed the office of the President of the Republic of Hungary and is considered his official residence. The funicular will take you to the top of the hill by the castle, and it seems pretty interesting, but the 2 times that I walked by, the lines were really long, so I just decided to walk it instead. Created in 1870, the funicular follows the same pattern as many other structures in the city, and it was rebuilt after World War II. Széchenyi Bridge, named after Count István Széchenyi, was the first bridge to connect Buda and Pest. Before being built, people could only cross the river on foot when it froze or by boat. According to Budapest.net, it took 20 years to build and was inaugurated on November 20th, 1849. However, the Institute of Civil Engineers states it was built between 1839 and 1849. To repeat an ongoing pattern here, the bridge was blown up during World War II and wasn't rebuilt until 1949.
Alright, we're heading to dinner. I made reservations for a place called Tati, T-A-T-I, a farm-to-table place I'm excited about.
Tati is a farm-to-table restaurant in the heart of Budapest. Chef Gabor Suki is the main guy behind the cuisine, which uses hand-picked ingredients from their very own farm outside of the city and other local farmers. I chose to have a nice cocktail with the goulash and the roasted lamb.
Righto. So yesterday, or last night, I went to this Irish pub. I got drunk as hell with this Irish guy and an American guy. So I'm walking the hangover off right now. On my way to City Park. I'm on my way to City Park. I'm gonna walk around a bit, maybe check out another museum, try to find some food soon.
Budapest is a fairly large European city, and it's divided into 23 districts on both sides of the Danube River. The majority of my time, and what you see here, was in districts 1, 5, 6, and 14, and a little bit in 8 and 9. My Airbnb is actually in the 5th district, which is the most central district on the Pest side. District 1 is the central district on the Buda side. Buda Castle and Fisherman's Bastion are both in District 1. Hero Square, one of the main squares in Budapest, is sort of a gateway into the beautiful city park. According to Budapest.net, it includes the 7 chieftains of the Magyar tribes that founded Hungary and some other important heads of state. You'll find a lot to do in this area, as you'll see, and the buildings along Andrassy Avenue are stunning. I mean, all the architecture I've seen throughout the city is beautiful, but riding down that avenue on the electric scooter was a simple pleasure and definitely a highlight of my trip. The Museum of Fine Arts is one of the main attractions you'll find here in City Park. Budapest.net explains that it was inaugurated on December 1st, 1906 by Franz Josef I of Austria. Vojtahonyad Castle was actually built for the 1896 Millennial Exhibition, celebrating the 1000th birthday of the Hungarian state, and that's coming directly from their website. It was initially built as a temporary structure, but because the people loved it, it ended up being built with different materials from 1904 to 1908 to become more permanent. Inside, you'll find the Museum of Agriculture, which has been there since 1897 and is considered the largest agricultural museum in Europe. Directly ahead of me is the statue of Count Sándor Károlyi, a significant figure who lived from 1831 to 1906. According to the Central and Eastern European Online Library, he was sort of an aristocrat who served his community in a variety of ways. He is considered primarily as the father of the Hungarian cooperative movement and the leader of the agrarian movement. And this guy directly ahead of me is Ignác Tarányi, born in January of 1849. He was a Hungarian politician who was the Minister of Agriculture twice, between 1895 and 1903, and again from 1906 to 1910. He died on April 27th, 1927. Szívesen. Thermal baths have a long history in Budapest, but the Széchenyi thermal bath in front of me was built in 1913. Originally called the Artesian baths, which date back to 1881, the Széchenyi bath was created to meet a growing demand for visitors. In the 1860s and 80s, the hot spring wells were drilled under Hero Square, which I walked through earlier, and the first well supplied the baths until 1938. This is all from SéchenyiBath.com. It was partially damaged in World War II, and Soviet soldiers even used the former male baths in the right wing of the building, and after World War II, it was reopened essentially as normal.
There's a lot to do over here, but I'm so hungry. I gotta go find some food. I haven't eaten yet today. I really wanted to check out the zoo, but it closes in a couple hours and I didn't want to be rushed. And then over here is the Fine Arts Museum. There's the Agricultural Museum over there by the castle. There's the thermal baths, some of them. There's a bunch over here. So now I'm gonna go walk to Fisherman's Bastion. Check it out. You guys American?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm from Arizona.
Oh, nice. New York.
New York? Nice.
Yeah.
Jesse, nice to meet you guys.
Peter, nice to meet you.
Eric. You guys have a good time?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This statue is of Stephen I, who was the first king of Hungary. He was born between 970 and 975 and died in 1083, and he's considered the founder of the Hungarian state. And this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. It was on Christmas Day 1000 CE when he was anointed the king of Hungary, and it's reported that his reign was predominantly peaceful. To my right is the Church of Our Lady of Buda Castle, also known as Matthias Church, and this is hands down one of the coolest buildings I've personally ever seen. Saint Stephen I had the Church of Mary built on the same site in 1015, but after the Mongols invaded and left Hungary in ruins in 1242, the current Roman Church was founded. According to Budapest.com, King Matthias Corvinus the Fair had it remodeled and expanded in a Gothic style in the 15th century. The Turks occupied Buda in 1526. And despite ruining most of the churches, Matthias Church was turned into a mosque with a plethora of changes made, such as destroying ornate furnishings. After the Turkish era ended, a new church was constructed here in a Baroque style. It was again restored in the Neo-Gothic style between 1873 and 1896.
Último Interra antes del COVID. A ver, por ahí abajo.
Ahí está buena, ahí está buena. Ah, dale, Carlos. Hay que sentarse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So this is the Fisherman's Bastion. Sebastian.
Fisherman's Bastion is actually not that old in the grand scheme of things. Built between 1895 and 1902, it has 7 turrets that represent the 7 Hungarian tribes who set up their home in present-day Hungary in 895. This is from fishermansbastion.com. The style of Fisherman's Bastion was meant to pair with the Matthias Church, both of which were designed by Friedrich Schulich, with their neo-Gothic style. There were often city walls that protected the castle, and due to multiple changes of power and political unrest for centuries, they were constantly destroyed and restored. When the Buda Castle Quarter lost its military function in 1874, there were ideas and plans put in place to turn the hill into a more communal space.
Cool.
I don't know why, but I love this building. Note to self: bring a fucking skateboard next time. Just scream Soviet.
Originally, there were 4 gates to the Buda Castle, and this is the Vienna Gate. Like many other buildings and structures throughout Budapest, the Vienna Gate was destroyed multiple times. The gate, built in 1850 after the control by the Turks, was demolished in 1894, and there was no gate here until the 1930s, when it was decided to repair the Danube side to mark the 10th anniversary of the governor's accession to power. Although the gate had taken on many forms and styles throughout history, it was decided to be restored to the 1850s Neo-Renaissance version. However, they did make some slight adjustments to the design to cater to growing trends, such as vehicle traffic. It was inaugurated in 1936, and this is coming from pestbuda.hu.
Alright. This morning I went to a cafe and had some breakfast, which I'll post a picture right here. And then after that I went to a different cafe that's like a bookstore cafe situation and bought a cappuccino, bought a book, read for a little bit in their garden. And then I left that, went and got myself a tattoo. Nothing crazy, just a small little one on the back of my arm. And then came home, well, to my Airbnb, and now I'm gonna go check out the Central Market Hall. Also, I had a very, very good gyro for lunch from this Turkish place. It's delicious.
The Central Market Hall is the largest and oldest of the 5 indoor markets in Budapest, according to Budapest.net. It was completed in 1897, but wasn't widely loved by the locals due to the higher prices. Of course, it was largely destroyed during World War II and then abandoned in the following years. The market went bankrupt in 1991, and 3 years later it was restored, becoming one of the most visited spots in Budapest.
Well, I forgot to mention that today's a national holiday in Hungary. All Saints Day, November 1st, so the market's actually closed today.
After watching these guys skate for a while, I went and got some dinner, had a couple drinks, walked around the shopping area, and then I finished my night sitting by the river with a beer before heading to my Airbnb for the night. I had a super early flight back to the US, so I just watched a little TV, got my stuff together, packed, and then managed to get about 2 hours of sleep. And then I took a taxi to the airport about 3 in the morning.